Environment art sure does have a long community history behind it. I started studying video game art in 2008, and in the blink of an eye, it's already been 17 years. Over that period of time, the community for game artists has had some of the most astonishing projects featured over the last 17 years. These were the types of projects that were so strong at the time of release that it pushed forward a new wave of artists who were inspired by the artistic and technical prowess shown in the work. It was the type of project that would be spoken about a day after release at studios and schools. Often my friends and I would say, "Did you see that scene on Polycount?" Or "Did you see who won that environment art competition?" It was discussed in so many places and people were amazed, they were hyped, and most of all, they were inspired. So join me in exploring two of these timeline-altering environment art projects as we dive deeper into what they were and how they inspired a generation of artists. If you've followed my channel over the last year, you'll know that I rarely ever do sponsorships unless it 1. Relates to my brand and 2. Is something I believe in or use. So I'm happy to announce the first ever sponsor of this channel, Fast Track Tutorials. As a lighting artist, if I had to pick one single tutorial that covered all of the fundamentals for preparing a lighting artist for employment in the games industry, then it would absolutely be the Ultimate Lighting Course In-Depth Tutorials hosted by Fast Track Tutorials. Not only that, but all of their tutorials are published by industry professionals specializing within their topics such as environment art, props, texturing, and character art. The library alone has enough resources to guide you to becoming a professional artist in the industry, and many folks, including myself, have skilled up in this industry thanks to their content. As part of the sponsorship, Fast Track Tutorials is offering the first 100 users 50% off their subscription model and everybody else 25% off any course for the next 12 months for using the following coupon codes. Both of these codes can be found on the screen now or in the description below. Thank you again to the team at Fast Track Tutorials for reaching out and sponsoring this video. In 2012, Torfrick, known as Sneffer on the Polycount forums, debuted a one-texture environment project titled Sci-Fi Lab. This whole environment used 256 by 512 texture, utilizing masterful use of UV unwraps, texture choice, shader development, and channel manipulation of existing maps, such as the normal map. It was offered in UDK, which stands for Unreal Development Kit, and the texture was used on walls, floors, ceilings, and prop fixtures, showcasing just how flexible and optimized you could be when approaching an environment of this nature. Let's jump over to the mirror board. So yeah, this was awesome. Like trim sheets, you can look on YouTube, there's so many good videos there, but it's such a popular topic. And if you've ever taught at sort of a university or anything like that, you know that when you introduce trim sheets, they're just so difficult. So this being, 2012, it's just insane. So I've added a few links here, and again, I'll add a bunch of these links in the description below as well. But yeah, I just want to cover some of these things. What's interesting about this is, so this was in 2012, and then he did a much more advanced version for when he sort of was running his studio making the Ascent. So this is again, a GDC talk, which is like, it's just fun to see that workflow so many years later. He's talking about this in 2022, and it was 2012 where he was setting that up. So him and his team just working on that is awesome. But yeah, let's get into some images. So we saw some of the images, using masks to break stuff up. I'll move slowly around the board. Here's some set pieces. So I'll talk about how these UVs are being mapped to the best of my knowledge, but lots of flexibility. The UVs I want to cover in a moment, and the textures. So taking the trim sheet, using double UV sets. We've talked about UV sets a lot on the channel for various things: normal maps, optimized normal maps, RGB masks, the ability to do that. So what Torfrick is doing is using the light map UVs, which traditionally are unique unwrapped UVs, and using that not only for the lighting, but also to do like the main texture pass that isn't on the trim sheet pass. And I'll speak about why that is important shortly. So yeah, who needs a blue channel normal map? That's right. If you go into a normal map, and this is a cool trick you can still do to this day, load up a normal map, separate the RGB in Photoshop, and you'll see that the R and the G give you a sort of like the direction of the normal, which can be used as a mask. But the blue channel always I always thought it looked like a bit of like a Veneo map. So it's not It's the one that you can sacrifice a lot of the time. So, he sacrificed the blue channel to essentially build out the ID mask for it. Decals on a second UV set, and all merged together. So in terms of the UVs, this is one of the points I want to make. So trim sheet UVs are usually some of the ugliest things you can have a look at, because often you will use the trim sheet UV, and this is especially true in sci-fi. You can get away with this in sci-fi a lot more than in sort of a medieval fantasy trim sheet. So the trim sheets in sci-fi games won't necessarily have the texture information for the albedo and the roughness on them. They will just outline paneling and details and decals. Whereas obviously trim sheets in medieval games, oftentimes they will have the albedo map on them. With the clean sci-fi look, you can actually do whatever you want to the UVs, so long as the trim UVs look good. So you can see we've got like lots of little things that are stretched. We've got some ribbon geometry going across on here. But ultimately, if this is the trim sheet, all you need to do is make the UVs good enough to map this detail to. You don't have to worry about any sort of little scratches or texture detail or UV stretching, because you have these big clean transitions, which are essentially, if we look at the normal map, they are, your typical flat. I always forget what it is, and then someone's going to correct me because I always potato it. But, you've got your flat 128, 128, 255, or the other way around, top of my head. The flat normal. Whatever happens here doesn't matter in the trim sheet, because you could stretch things like that. You could stretch UVs like that. As long as you're matching sort of the panel detail, you're good to go. And that's why a lot of this stuff is just mapped. It could be mapped very crudely. It doesn't matter, because the actual texture, the metal texture, the reflective texture, isn't going to use those UVs. So obviously in the second UV set, which is the light map, these are the clean, unique UVs. This is what you channel your texture into. So think of it like this. Let's say you're doing a British pub and it's all painted red. You can make the normal map without any albedo or roughness. Just make the wood sculpt. You can have a tiny bit of roughness, but add like the wood sculpt, the bolts, the metallic trims, whatever it may be. And then you can use a separate tiling texture on the unique UV set to basically put the paint over the whole asset. So sometimes it's better not to have the actual texture detail in the trim sheet, because the UVs will look like this, and mapping that to a trim can be chaotic. And then obviously with the decals, again, a bit more unique, mapping that over to these areas. And you can do a lot in the shader. So obviously there's going to be a lot of stuff here, like color tints, material instances, and what have you. But it's just, for 2012, this was so inspiring. It's still talked to a lot to this day. When I remember in university not too long ago when I was teaching, this scene always popped up as, how much you can do with very little. Typical workflow, so build low poly. Yeah, just map. Doesn't matter how you do it, just map these markings on however you want. And then you use the second UV set to texture it. And then that workflow sorts you out for all of this, which is pretty cool. So yeah, check out, I'll put these links in, but yeah, he did the same on Descent, obviously a more advanced version. I'll link the original website and the Polycamp thread where you can find more. But really good stuff, super inspiring. Let's just look at this little asset here, when it's complete. Decals look normal, decals combined in Unreal. The stuff you can do with double UV sets, triple UV sets, quad UV sets is amazing. But yeah, let's move on to the next one. The year is 2009. At this point in time, there's a lot more usage of CryEngine in the community as opposed to nowadays, where it is predominantly Unreal Engine. And it is a CryEngine 2 project in the form of a competition entry, a winning competition entry, that once again shook the game art community. This project was authored by a 3-person team as the winning entry in the Scene from a Movie competition. And that movie was Blade Runner. I think one of the amazing things about game art is, this is 16 years old almost, and I'm not going to lie, like, yes, you look at it and some areas look as they would be at this stage a bit old, but the overall picture is, this holds, I feel as though this is just great fundamentals being applied. Like, there's no PBR, diffuse maps, we would multiply the ambient occlusion on top. We would use specular maps. There was none of this roughness or anything like that, physical accuracy. I don't even know how we'd light scenes back then. We'd put lights in, but I don't know if we're using exposure or anything like that. You know, yeah, Ilya Nedyal that did a lot of the grey models and textured them. But again, the way these models are rendered, just very beautiful clay models. Great vehicle modeling. Again, if I saw this today, I'd be like, yeah, that's some pretty awesome modeling. Nice detail, nice big areas for the eye to rest. And then a lot of this stuff now you can do procedurally or with scripts, but you know, all this sort of detail work is just beautiful and rendered beautiful as well, like all this sort of dirt and everything. Here's a cool asset. So, you know, 2009, this is a very good use of polygons, soft normals, good merging in. You know, it holds the shape well, and like I say, it's not super low poly. You know, you'd think, oh, 2009, I have to do super low poly stuff. No, you put as much in as you need to help sell the silhouette. You know, it's always about the silhouette when you do a low to high poly bake. This is mapped out, and the UVs are really nicely folded out into a square, and it could almost, you know, this could almost be pretty much a trim sheet looking at it. But you can see, like, we would diffuse in the shadows, so you get all the depth. Obviously, with albedos now, we don't want lighting information in there, but that's what you would do in the diffuse model. The lighting only shots are pretty cool, nice simple lighting. Again, I used CryEngine a little bit back in the day, but I didn't use it for any sort of big scene development or anything like that. So yeah, it's a little bit harder to find websites for this sort of stuff nowadays. I think this website from one of the artists that worked on this is actually pretty good. So we'll take a look at that. Nice high-res images as well. So a team of 3, which is pretty cool. And yeah, I'm just looking at this, and it's just got nice sharpness. It's got a nice breakup. It's got a nice attention to detail. Good composition as well. You know, nice fundamental composition where this is lining up on a thirds. I didn't realize the size of those things. They were pretty big in the game at the end. But yeah, some more modeling here. Nice simple modeling. And, you know, yeah, that's, you know, there's not as many breakdowns for this, but it's still pretty awesome. So, yeah, this changed a lot. You know, back in these competitions, seen from a movie, Unearthly Challenge, all the other ones that we could cover in the future. I remember seeing this, and this one is, you know, you ask anyone about it who's been around in games for a while, they'll be like, oh yeah, that scene. It was just absolute magnificence. And if you go into Google and you type in scene from a movie polycount, Unearthly Challenge polycount, gameartist.net, you will get all of these sort of things as well. Like I say, all the magazine areas covered this as well. We'll have a quick check here, but we're pretty much done. Yeah, so these were all the other scenes, like the second and third place. So this was Hook, this was from Alien, Logan, and I think I Am Legend. So very old pieces of work. They're very hard to find nowadays, but it was just really cool to see a scene from a movie competition. I know we have the ArtStation competitions nowadays, but this was just pretty cool. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video, and yeah, see you in the next one.